Hi, everyone. I am Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted, the video interview series that connects you with the top minds in the industry. Today, I'm talking with Shad Churma, Senior Customer Solutions Manager of Transportation and Logistics with Here Technologies, a leading location platform working with the likes of Geotab, GPS Insight, NexTraq, Omnitracs, RouteSmart, Teletrac, Navman, Verizon Connect, all our industry friends. So Shad, thanks for joining us here today. How is your work from home experience going? How are you still supporting your customers while staying at home?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been interesting. I would say the workload has probably increased quite a bit, just simply because of we don't have folks traveling as much. The commute time, roughly the 2-hour commute time has been removed from the day, so we've increased our available working hours. So yeah, I mean it's great. It's great being home with the family. But yeah, overall things are going well. And if anything, the pace of things have picked up quite substantially.
Yeah, for sure. I'm experiencing kind of a similar thing here. I'm actually churning out more stories somehow, I think, than previous. So, thanks for allowing me to add to your, I'm sure, busy video conference call schedule as well. Today, we are talking about the supply chain. Lots of changes going on out there. I'm sure even from when we just started sending emails back and forth about a week or so ago, that things are in flux. So, can you give us an update of where the supply chain is strained right now, and what are the biggest causes that you're seeing?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would say for sure is that it's not any one particular thing that's causing the strain. It's a whole number of factors. Um, first off, there's been a surge in demand. I think everybody is aware of that as it relates to consumer goods, CPG, food and beverage. So we've seen increased shipment volume there as a function of the demand in the consumer space, grocery as well. Um, and then more internationally, there are bottlenecks at border crossings. So, very early on, when the restrictions were put into place, we had seen a number of dwell times and wait times increasing at border crossings. Some provinces in Italy, we had seen that they were not letting any traffic in, any trucks in. Um, and then also, factories, warehouses, some are operating at lower capacity, right? And so you have increase in demand, lower capacity, you have transportation bottlenecks. So you have all these factors kind of working together to create this really big disruption. So it's not necessarily one thing, but rather a factor of multiple things coming together at the same time.
For sure. You mentioned border crossings there as an example of some of the changes in traffic patterns and congestions. How have the stay-at-home orders across the country impacted traffic patterns and congestions? And can you kind of give us an example of something that might show how this has impacted fleets of all kinds?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, on one hand, folks might think that, well, with the stay-at-home order in place, there's less traffic and congestion on the road, which is true. But however, that does impact operations at warehouses, at facilities, at manufacturing facilities, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But I'll share some examples here. The short answer is traffic congestion has pretty much been eliminated. Average traffic speeds have gone up, but downstream that does have implications, and I'll talk about that in a second. But let me share a few examples here. So let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep, I got it here. Very cool.
Okay, so we have one of our products is traffic. We have both historical and real-time traffic. And then this is integrated into other services that we offer with respect to truck routing and ETA calculation. But this is just a look of raw data over the course of roughly 2 months here of traffic congestion on all of the roads within San Francisco, right? So we break it up. There's the major highways, interstates, and there's arterial roads. And so this is a look at all of the traffic data on all of the roads over the course of 2 months. And you can see here that the percent of congestion on the road network substantially goes down right around March 3rd.
Right.
Right? So that's essentially saying, you know, there's just really no traffic on the road. This next slide here is showing the average speed now, right? So traffic congestion goes down, speed goes up, right? And so now one would think that, you know, if the traffic congestion is down and the average speed is going up, this should be great, right? But the problem is that, or the challenge is that when we look at lanes between different cities um, in the movement of goods, um, the ETA calculations are historical, right? So historically,
Right.
between say San Francisco and LA, let's just say, for example, that's 5 hours, right? And so all of the planning is based off of that 5 hours. Well, now if you have vehicles, trucks arriving, say 4.5 hours or 4 hours, right? Well, now you have this stack up of trucks arriving before they were anticipated, right? And this is coupled with, again, lower operating capacity at the facilities, the average turn time increasing at facilities, and then now you have trucks showing up sooner than anticipated, and so this creates more of the bottlenecks and disruption that we're seeing. So this is an example of raw data in San Francisco, and I'm going to share another view with you here. So here is let's see, where is Melbourne, Australia. So this is typical traffic on a Thursday evening, right? This is what it normally looks like.
Right.
This is what the traffic looks like on March 26th, same time.
Right.
So you can see that again, the traffic congestion is substantially reduced, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's easier on turning vehicles and getting loads transitioned in and out of facilities, just simply because there's no traffic on the road.
Right. Right. No, very cool. And you mentioned it's based on the historical data. Is this, have you seen anything like this before? Is this unprecedented? Is there any, when you're building these models and ETAs, are you trying to figure out, okay, how is this impacted when stuff comes
No,
back online?
no, absolutely. This is unprecedented. We average, we have a large volume of probe data that we receive from a number of different vehicles and different sources. And that data is averaged over the course of several years. But when we don't have situations like this to compare to, we don't have any models for it. We don't have any way of predicting it. And so, you can see in those images, both the graphs and the visuals, what a dramatic difference it is pre and post stay-at-home orders.
Right. Right, for sure. And, each fleet is different, each operation is different, but we know that in some regard, their personnel, driver availability, as you mentioned, at the delivery site, personnel availability there to get the stuff off the trucks.
Yeah.
We know that they're running tighter now. We've seen reports of service intervals increasing, right? Less time in service because they're making so many deliveries. So equipment operators definitely want to make sure that they're optimizing their assets as much as possible, that they're not sitting there for an extra hour or 2 hours and getting backed up. Do you have any advice for equipment managers, fleet managers to help get the trucks in and out, maybe provide better ETA predictions?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is take advantage of sharing location data through ELDs and telematics hardware that are on vehicles. Um, I know that not every vehicle and driver out there is sharing that data. It's key to have access to all of that in order to really to have a real-time view, real-time visibility into where vehicles are at, how they're progressing, as well as performing those continuous real-time ETA calculations based off on actual location. So sharing that data with your partners is absolutely key in managing that fleet more efficiently. And then for those that might not necessarily have access to that data, I recommend going to here.com or developer.here.com to take advantage of our traffic-enabled truck routing service. First 250,000 transactions are free. So I highly encourage folks to take advantage of that. It's very easy. Documentation is on the web. And you can start to calculate ETAs based off of historic and real-time traffic very easily.
The real-time, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so those are just two of the things that I think could be done rather easily and quickly.
Very cool. The real-time ETAs now, I mean, so you're taking into account the traffic that's on there now. Are you looking at like the endpoint for bottlenecks or anything like that as to when to maybe dispatch and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So the bottlenecks and delays, dwell times at facilities, that's something that you would need to capture either through your location sharing via ELD or telematics, or just simply calling up and talking to facility managers and just saying, hey, what is the average dwell time at this facility? And then you can factor that into overall ETA. But at least when you look at real-time traffic and then the inclusion of legal truck routes, you can start to dial into very accurate ETA calculations that at least get you within a good margin of error on when vehicles are going to arrive at their destination.
For sure. One quick follow-up there on the sharing location data. Do you have any best practices for that? Is that platform enabled? How do you handle that and make sure you can give it to your customer, but the data is secure between the two of you, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So that would really be up to the ELD manufacturer and the telematics hardware provider. They each have their own, certain ways of making that data available, enabling it to be transmitted to approved parties that can accept it.
Right, for sure. And in a lot of the conversations I've been having recently, ELDs keep coming up, and I know it was a pain for a lot of fleets here at the end of last year. But in retrospect, I guess it couldn't come at a better time because the majority of the industry has it. If for fleets out there, you should have these tools so you can ask your partners how to use them. And if you don't have them, then you can start looking for other partners, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The timing is I don't want to say perfect, but it is fortuitous that we have these devices on vehicles now, and having access to more of that data is key, and especially in times like this.
For sure, for sure. Well, Shad, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Really cool insight. I'm sure we will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.